All right.
She's real.
Big champion.
She's real.
Didn't even make my top 5. There you go.
I tried to tell you.
All right. Congratulations to Anthony taking down and giving Datadol probably 6 points. I don't think we've seen yet, but 5 or 6 points towards the LL.
Nice.
And bringing home your stupid, sexy Skur.
Stupid, sexy Skur.
Which is a marble, by the way. I wasn't sure if it was or not. But
oh, that is awesome.
It was modeled after me.
Nice. Yeah, you were the model for that.
Clearly. In my younger days, long hair.
A huge shout out to our channel members for supporting what we do here. If you want to get involved with the channel and the Dice Commando community, please consider joining as a channel member. Remember, these videos are only possible with your support. You can show that support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving us a comment and sharing your feedback. Community first, and go Commando. So the upcoming Skirmish season will be the Blitz format's final ride, and certain heroes like Datadol here, this may potentially be one of the last times that we are legitimately talking about her as a winning hero. So who I've pulled in today is DC team member and good friend Anthony Galleran, who has won 2 skirmishes in his career with Datadol. How are we doing, my friend?
Good, man. How are you doing?
We're rocking. You know, it's we are in the same time zone, not even that far from each other, but we have to get up super early and hide in our respective offices because we have families. So it's kind of like a time zone thing. Who knows? But how are you doing? And more importantly, let people know about yourself.
Yeah, I'm doing good. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. What about me? I'm a dad. I'm a fab dad. I play fab when I can, usually about once a week, and then, here and there on Talishar. Yeah, I love Skirmish. I love Blitz. I love short format. And so I've had the most success in the short format. And I like those fast games that you can practice quickly on Talishar. Games you can practice in 5 to 10 minutes. Aggro decks help for that, like that at all.
Yeah.
But I've been playing fab for about 3 years. My first game ever was at your TO over at Gungai. Got introed in Commoner and gone from there.
Awesome. Okay, so Datadol, she's had quite the ride in the history of the game. She was basically worthless, and then in Bright Lights became very good, and then the pistol retired, and she kind of went into limbo. But that was where you actually started finding success with her despite the pistol, right? So can you talk us through kind of the more recent iteration? We can go in through deck list in a bit, right? But what's her shtick? Why is she so well positioned in the meta right now? Or is she still? I mean, not much has changed, but go ahead.
Yeah, if you called it right. When Bright Lights came out, she got a lot of good tools. Really, all the items that came out with that set, boom grenades and all the different shields and penetration script and things like that. But yeah, losing pistol kind of changed that plan because you couldn't load up a bunch of counters and ping, 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 ping. It was really the release of the the Dash IO Armory deck that changed things. We got 3 huge tools in that deck. One of the major one is Cerebellum Processor. I think there's no surprise there, but just the ability to kind of cheat that in, get an action point, and then draw a card. Datadol's whole issue is that she only draws 3 cards, and Cerebellum kind of gets around that. And now you're in a 4-card hand with her ability, and you can really do some damage there. But also, then we got the hat and the boots, and those 2 pieces are also just incredible for what Datadol's trying to do. The hat lets you get an item on the field on your opponent's turn. And then the boots let you survive a lot of things you wouldn't be able to survive. Cheat out 2 items, get an action point. If you draw a handful of items, suddenly you can put 2 of those items on the board with 2 action points, maybe 2 more from boosting or banishing from the top of the deck, I should clarify. And yeah, so just the ability to get from the armor suite alone 4 items on board if it all lines up. That's the big caveat, though, if it all lines up, right? You'd also get rid of four of your attacks, and then you're in trouble. So in terms of how well it's positioned, it's a high rolly deck. Like in my opinion, like the decks that high roll have to be able to high roll really well to be at the top of the meta, or not. And I don't think Datadol's at the top of the meta. I just think she high rolls really, really well when she goes. And if she doesn't go, then your day feels really bad, and you've banished only attacks or mostly attacks, and you do nothing. But if you're banishing items and you're drawing attacks, I don't think any deck can beat her in the format.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're making it sound, so I don't disagree, right? When she pops off, and she can have a bad game. But I don't know that I agree that she's. I should say I think you're making it sound like she's a luck based deck, and that's where that's why we have you here. Is you've won multiple skirmishes with this, and we're not talking like 4-person skirmishes, right? We're talking large skirmishes that you can't just roll a die to your way to victory. So. Can you talk us through the general strategy of, I mean, obviously you don't control in most cases what's on the top of your deck. You actually do have some cards to do that, to be clear. But that good old optical monocle, right? But so can you talk us through kind of how you've been able to get around that variability?
You want to know something crazy? I don't even run optical monocle. It's not on my deck list. I truly yes, there is a decent amount of skill to line things up and know how to play to your outs, but there genuinely is a huge element of luck because you are boosting off the top. So the only way I have to control the top of my deck is not nothing, which is microprocessor. You can definitely draw on top deck or opt or all that, and you absolutely want to run those. But for me, I don't run optical because it to me doesn't do anything to advance your game plan. It just makes your deck safer. And I truly believe if you're going to play a deck like that at all, you're not playing for consistency. You're playing to high roll the crap out of somebody.
I see.
And so for me, I don't. If you're picking up that at all for the first time, you absolutely should probably run optical monocle or at least one copy of it. But for me, I kind of know what to expect, what's in the deck, and based on what I've seen, the likelihood of what's still in there, and how much I'm risking boosting something away or Technical Foundry harding something away, and just to believe in the cards, basically. If I don't have a microprocessor on board or things like that. So I'm sorry, I probably missed your question entirely. What you were asking. Happy to talk about any of the cards, or I can talk to it. Anything.
Yeah, well, I honestly had missed that you weren't running monocle. I've been too. So we have another Dad-It-All player in the area, Jesse, and I've gotten too used to sitting back and just watching him stack his deck. But tell you what, let's go ahead and pull up your deck, and then you can, because maybe that's a good intro on what is and isn't in there, and you can walk us through, and I can just drive while you tell me where to go. Yeah,
sounds good. We can start with the equipment. The equipment's pretty standard loadout for Data-Dolls. I don't think many Data-Dolls are running anything different. Adaptive plating, you almost always have an item on the board that's going to go away next turn, so you can just get three block out of that. Worst case, you get a 1 block when you need it. It's just good value. All right, so Backup Protocol Red. This deck, and this card is so versatile, right? You can cheat it out to crank it and get an action point, and then you'll have usually Data-Doll actually rarely has problems with resources because you're always Foundry Harding. You can draw a handful of reds, but for the most part, you've got at least 1 blue in there usually, and then you can just get whatever card you need back for a situation. Worst case, this is 0 to 60 or T-Bone 0 cost, but otherwise you can get one of your 1-for-4s with an on hit. That will help you push through some damage as well. Backup Protocol just gets you out there and also can save you if hey, I'm running low on attacks, but I've still got a Backup Protocol in there somewhere. You can hope that I know I'm going to boost it in a turn or two, and then I can plan for that. So you can it's also a decent arsenal target if you need to. If you draw an all item hand, you can pop a Backup Protocol Red in there, play it out, crank it, and then just use those resources in your hand to get the bare minimum 1 attack off. Yeah.
Okay. Boom grenades, I think those are pretty self-explanatory, right?
Yes, but there is in the purple Discord a movement to not run the red booms. For some reason, people just don't think it's as needed. They put it more in favor of shields. I don't run a lot of shields, so some people are just running the yellows for the resources. For me, that's crazy pants. I think you need the damage you need to push through. That's why I run so many 1-for-4s. That's how you win the game, is just by booming. So yeah, I run red and yellow.
Okay. This one I've seen win you many a game.
Yep. Yeah. I think there's enough heroes that just block and block really well. And if you can't get around that block, you're gonna deck fast, because mechs are already very susceptible to that, and Dadadal runs way less attacks than most mechs anyway. So this just kind of because this is on demand, it just lets you, when you draw those correct cards, which is usually Outpace or Fender Bender, you can combo that with a Convection Amplifier, and they can't defend with equipment, or if they defend with equipment, it gets buffed, and then suddenly you're pushing damage with a Boom Grenade or 2 on the field, and that's how you beat the big Earth Heroes or Guardian decks.
Yeah, and just to be clear for the folks at home, right, we're talking Convection Amplifier here, and what's unique about, or I shouldn't say unique, but what sets this apart from other cards in the deck, that it doesn't tick down unless you use it, right? So it stays on the field for Anthony to use as he so chooses.
Yep.
So Dumpster Dive, if you banish an item, you not only are happy, you also get +1.
Yeah, just great value. Yeah.
And then Fast and Furious, as you mentioned, out of the Dash Armory deck and the gem packs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got the new one with the big monkey. I love it. I'm gonna run it this year. Yeah, this is just worst case. It's a 0-for-3. It's often a 0-for-4, and also, when you do boost an item, when you do boost an attack, you hope it's this one, because then you get an item on your counter on your items.
Nice. So you already spoke to these, but Fender Bender is not necessarily 1-to-1 for equipment, but in many cases it helps you from that standpoint. And then we have Outface, which can't be defended by equipment. So those are your damage pushers. And then we have the Plasma mainline. Now this is a main deck card.
Yeah, occasionally I'll take it out in some matches if I really need the item space. But generally you want to see this early. And if you see it late, it sucks. It's terrible. But if you see it early, you can. This again is your choice, right? So when you boost out items, you have the option to, if it's put a Steam counter on something. Can you keep a Teclipana around for 4 turns? Can you keep a Cerebellum processor out for 3 turns? Like that, just exponential value on Plasma Mainline. The earlier you get it, so it's a really, really good tool to have.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, Sprocket Rocket is the baby Dumpster Dive, and then we have Red T-Bone.
Yep, T-Bone's just great value. It's I don't run a lot. This is the only 0-for-3 that doesn't pump that I run, but it's T-Bone, right? It just makes sense. You want to take an equipment if you get it at the right time. You can really mess with the opponent's game plan. Sure. Also reduce their block value when you don't for early when they want to save it for later.
Right. Yeah, you get that last to banish boom grenade, or last boost boom grenade, and there you go. But what about my dynamos? All right.
Exactly.
Underloop, this is helping a little bit with fatigue. I gotta say, this is one of the do not let this dang card hit, because in many cases you're out, right?
Give me an attack back, please. That'd be great.
All right, let's talk. So Zero, I'm not going to click on Zero and Zipper because I want to talk about them together. But because I think folks at this point, you should know what these 2 cards do. Like if you're a Fab player, you should know what these 2 cards do. They're your fundamental OG boosts. But why the reds? Why did you land on the colors that you landed on? Talk us through that. Is it just breakpoints?
It's 100% breakpoints, and the yellow zippers are for the resources, just to have a couple extra. But I don't want to run anything that can't hit for 4 except for T-Bone. So some people are on yellow 0-60, which is a fine card, but it's 3. It's very easy to block. I want to get 2 cards away from you when I've only got at best 3 cards to attack you with, and it's usually only 2. Plus maybe Talishar on the back end. Like I need to push through my on hits. I need to push through my boom grenades to kill you, basically. So anything that doesn't have that 4 on the bottom left corner, I don't want to see unless it's got the ability to get pumped, like Fast and Furious, like Sprocket Rocket, or if it's T-Bone, just because it's T-Bone. But other than that, it's got to have at least 4 at the bottom.
Okay. Dissipation Shield. So let's talk about this one at the same time as we talk about, kind of the shield package. There's a couple others out there. There's the crank ones. I always get the two mixed up, right? But there's the one that you can the one that has ward effectively, and then there's the one that you can tick down every time to reduce damage by 1.
Yep.
So this is the one that you're running. Talk us through this choice and perhaps the others, or the lack of the others.
Yeah, this one has the most block value and pitches for yellow. The other two are red, and they block for 3. And they crank, which is helpful. It's definitely something you want, whereas this one doesn't crank, but this is just sticks around a little bit longer. If you get it out early, and you can play it, it ticks down every turn, but it can definitely do the most damage in terms of preventing damage, right? So if your opponent is sending a Dominator attacking you, and then you defend with your helmet, and then you put this in the field, now you're covering 4 more. Whereas the other shields will only prevent 3. It also, and then again, it pitches for yellow. And same thing with wizard attacks, right? If you need to just have you pitch this early or at the right time, and you get this on the field, suddenly that kill turn is reduced by 4 versus reduced by 3. So really, it just comes into the numbers. It wards more, and it has yellow at the top.
Fair enough. And then the other ones you don't like just because of the value?
I think so. Yeah. Again, I'm trying to do as much damage as possible, as quickly as possible. So things like optical, things like too many shields prevent that from happening and just make the deck safer, which for me is not playing to win, it's playing to not lose, which is different. I'm trying to win as fast as possible. And so I think it's silly to not run any shields, which is why I run Dissipation. But I'm not running more than that, except for Dissolution Sphere, which we'll get to in the sideboard.
Okay. And then, so you're on 2 script. I know that this is penetration script. I know that this is one of debate on should it be a 1 of, should it be a 2 of, and I'm in the community, I mean. So you're on 2, I'm assuming just because of what you just mentioned, which was playing to win, baby.
Yep. Totally. And also, again, with Plasma Mainline, if you get that out before you get this out, you've got 2 turns suddenly of everything being an extra breakpoint. Possibly even 3 if you get it out at the right time, and you don't have to crank it. So, yeah, it's just +1 on every attack. It's not just the first one. It's every attack. So if you can, do 3 attacks in a turn, that's +3 damage on top of all the other potential on hits and plus damage you're getting. So yeah, penetration script suddenly changes the math on how people block. It's great. Yeah. And it's got yellow.
All right, this is your gem.
King of the deck.
Yep. Cerebellum processor get you a draw and a crank. Well, yeah, and you'd ideally not crank this one, to be fair, right?
But if you have to, right, it definitely it'll always get you an extra card. Worst case scenario. So yeah, it's one of those things where if you know you're low on attacks that you draw, well, if I know I can boost one and Cerebellum's in there, and if I get Cerebellum off the top, suddenly my turn is back alive or back to life. And just having it on the field and knowing if you're sitting across from Dead at all and they've got a processor out, you just know they're going to be able to send more damage unless they draw or boost really bad.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then this card is made. I think we'll talk about fatigue here in a sec, but this card's made fatigue a lot more difficult for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
All right. Fuel injector. So put this on the bottom of its owner's deck, gain a resource, and refill your deck. Yep.
It's just it does everything you want a deck like this to do, right? So it's blue. When it comes out, you have a choice to get a resource whenever you want to. On demand instant, this is the reason Old Knocker's been banned, right? Like an on demand instant resource whenever you want it on the opponent's turn, on your turn. If you're playing against like a Runeblade and you just don't want to use anything in your hand, you need to prevent at least one rune chant, you can do that on their turn and pitch to your null rune. You can use it to draw a hand of all reds, and you need some resources, boost your 0 to 60 or your T-bone or whatever. Use the resource from Fuel Injector, go to Foundry Heart. Now you've got 2 more resources you didn't have. Now you can do more things. There's just so many uses for it. It's really good to have, and then it goes back to the bottom of your deck. In the worst case scenario, you can prevent fatigue a little bit with that deck too, with that card too.
Yeah, nice. All right, microprocessor. This is her. Well, I was going to say her bread and butter, but I mean, I guess Cerebellum's probably her bread and butter. But this card makes things happen. The earlier you get, I've seen you get this card early, and I've seen you get this card late, and the outcomes are very different.
Yeah. Yeah, this is just once it's on the field, unless you've got item destruction, this is there the entire game. And if you have, and I ran 2 of them to get to it early, but if you've got 2 out, you can really do some cool hand manipulation things. The tricky thing, if you're picking up this deck for the first time, is remembering which of the modes you chose, because you'll ideally want to, if you have a spare action point and nothing to do, you can then, if you know what's at the top of your deck, you can cheat out an item with the last mode. If you don't know what's at the top of the deck and you want to make sure you're drawing something good next turn, you can opt. But pretty much you're always choosing the middle mode to kind of manipulate your hand to make sure that you're going to boost an item away. But, you know, there's situations where you're going to want to use the different modes. But generally you're looking for the middle mode, and just make sure you're remembering which mode you choose, especially if you've got 2 on the board. That way you don't get into some weird judge call situations.
All right, talk us through Stasis Cell. So when this enters or leaves the arena, activate abilities of target equipment can't be activated until the end of its controller's turn. And you can bottom this, which again gives you recycling, but you can choose an equipment which cannot defend.
Yep. So what's cool, what I didn't know when I initially picked up this deck is these are 2 separate items. You can target 2 different equipment. You can prevent one equipment's effect from going, and then you can prevent a different equipment from defending, which often prevents its effect from going. So you can do it. You can, you know, put this in the field and say no flesh bag, or I'm sorry, you can say no Savage Sash, and then you can put it on the bottom of the deck and say now you can't defend with flesh bag. So now you've taken away 2 pieces of a brute's equipment. You know, you're going to see a lot of KOs in a skirmish season more than likely. So really turning off 2 of their most powerful tools on demand, basically when this card comes out, it's just really good. There's so many equipment that you want to turn off that I mainboard this for the most part. There's a few decks I'll take it out versus, but for the most part, Stasis Cell's always in there, just because it can really shut down, unless I know like a hero's going to use all their equipment turn 0 or turn 1. There's really no reason not to run this.
Makes sense. And then Teklo Pounder, I mean,
Pounder's great.
What value?
Yep.
All right,
Yep.
talk us through your inventory here, kindly. So obviously we have AB3, but we also
Plus,
from an equipment. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Plus Spell Void, yeah.
Yeah. So talk us through this one, the Misfire Dampener.
Yeah, this just gives you 1 extra, or two extra, honestly, because you usually, depending on who you're playing against, you usually boost it at least once because the wizard wants you to have less cards in your hand on your turn. So you'll get 2 Spell Void on top of AB3, which really makes the range of Ablaze doing their thing harder to do. I know Stormstriders is gone, so really they've only got whatever many counters they've got on their hero ability to prevent that, to kill you, right? So if you can suddenly make their range just that much harder to reach, it can save you games. It does fall more into the playing not to win, but not to lose with Misfire Dampener. But I think with Blaze, because they can get you on turn 1 or turn 0, like it's just important to have a little extra protection so you get a little bit more time to do your thing. But that's the only matchup I bring it in, is for Blaze.
Fair enough. All right, Tick Tock Clock. So if
Yep.
you don't remember this, that's okay. This enters the arena with a steam counter. And at the start of your turn, destroy it, and it deals 1 damage to you unless you remove a steam counter from it. But when a mech attack card you control hits, destroy this and up to 2 other items, then deal X damage to them, where X is the number of items destroyed this way. So what are we running this for? This seems suicidal. What's the play here?
Yeah, I pretty much only bring it in for the mirror, Dash IO, and I might bring it in for like a hero that generates a lot of gold, because it can also destroy gold. I haven't, Victor usually blocks well enough that I kind of ignore it. Or Victor's gone, but when Victor was legal, I kind of ignored it for that. But I could see bringing it against, you know, if a Scurv shows up, or if maybe a Gravy, because they can't block really well. I don't know if you're bringing Gravy to Skirmish, but if you are, there's definite use case for it. But it's mainly for mechs, right? Because mechs don't want to block. Mm-hmm. If you're making a mech block, then they're really in trouble. So you're forcing blocks, and ideally you're going to be able to get over their blocks with some of the tools we talked about earlier, and just gets rid of items, right? It's the only way I have to get rid of an opponent's opposing data doll's microprocessor. It, you know, can destroy a boom grenade to mess up their plan. It does work in the matches. It does work. It's probably the card that stays on my sideboard the most, though.
Okay. And then Dissolution Sphere, you said we'd talk about this one in terms of the prevention.
Yeah. Frankly, like Florian, Aurora, I guess the main two targets at this point, but, you know, Runeblade's turning off the rune chance, even making it so, like, I know if I generate rune chance for the next 2 turns, it's going to be a waste. So it changes their plan, having this on board, because this prevents anytime you're going to be dealt exactly 1 damage, which is rune chance. It also works against Riptide, prevents the Riptide pings. It makes all your 3 blocks block 4 if they're sending a 4-power attack at you. So there's just a lot of use cases, but it's mainly in there for Runeblades. And I'll take out usually penetration script or something like that to just prevent a little bit more damage and kind of buy me some space where I know, yes, I'm trying to kill you fast, but I'm also susceptible to being killed really fast because 20 of my cards don't block. So this, you know, buys me a little bit more time and some of those tools as well.
And then do you run this in the ASC matchup with the Flick Knives, or is there better value in just going face?
Yeah, that too. Flick Syndra as well, right? Just keeping that on the board. Just turns off on hits, turns off mass triggers sometimes. So yeah, no, absolutely. Anything that's going to deal exactly 1. Okay. Definitely Flick Knives. Good call.
Yeah, we don't see a bunch of Syndra in Blitz, but ASC is a very real thing. Yeah. And then Null Time Zone. This one is one that I know you've played against me as a warrior many a time. So yeah,
I think it's yours that you traded me, actually.
Fair enough.
But yeah, it's a game ender against a Mystic hero. You just name Energy, and they can't do anything for 3 turns, which is wild. But it's also cheeky against decks where you know what their big threats are, and even if they don't see them, just knowing you have protection against them, right? So you can, you know, name Blood Rush Bellow. You can name, whatever, name your power card, right? Like I Felling of the Crown, Leave No Witnesses, whatever, right? Like you can just say, hey, I know you're not going to be able to play that from hand, and you're not going to be able to pitch it for at least 2 or 3 turns. And you can play it from Arsenal, but you know if they've got no Arsenal and a 4-card hand, and you're worried about seeing that 1 card that you know will mess up your plan, Spinal Crush, whatever, you can just name that card. I don't usually bring it in for non-Mystic matchups, just because I don't always like playing that guessing game, but sometimes it does matter.
Okay. All right, so that's the deck. Thank you for sharing your deck and then talking us through it. So, as we kind of move, well, I shouldn't say move to get out of here. That makes it sound like I want to end, which is not the case. But let's talk meta. You mentioned I'm putting words in your mouth, but functionally you said she's like an A level hero as opposed to like a S level hero, right? Whatever the kids say these days, right? Your 2nd level banned hero. But in the Blitz format, let's be clear, those are still very good heroes, right? So where does what do you expect her to do in this upcoming season, keeping in mind that we haven't really seen at a widespread level how Lyeth does? Seems pretty decent in the format. What are we thinking?
This season's going to be interesting because it's the last Blitz Skirmish season, as far as we know, right? So unless they change their mind, which I would hope they do, but I don't think they will. So I think this season people are going to bring the decks that they want to play one last time for the most part, right? I don't think people are going to be trying a whole lot of new things. I don't think the prizing in this season is so amazing that people are like, I'm going to find the meta deck and I'm going to take down the Skirmish with a brand new thing nobody's ever thought of. I think you're going to see people bring in their pet decks, their Shianas and their things like that. But if there is a meta, yeah, I think the things that she's well positioned against are anything that wants to go fast and doesn't block. I can out aggro any deck if it lines up. Where I run into trouble are decks that block really well. In previous seasons, I've ran 2 convection amplifiers just to make sure I can get through that, but I don't know that that's the right choice. Yeah, I think your also biggest opponent as a data doll is yourself, right? If you just boost bad, and if you boost 10 attacks out of your 20, it puts you in a really tough position. So if you can beat yourself and you can line things up right, you can pretty much beat most decks. The biggest thing to watch out for is Florian, just because Florian can block so well. And, the embodiments of Earth and all the other defensive tools that they run, those are tough. I think the reason I won the skirmish last season at Gongai was because I only ran into one of the 3 Florians. Mm-hmm. I think had Gem paired me up against one more of those Florians, I don't think I make top 4, and I don't think at that point I win. So yeah, it's really making sure that you're able to get over that damage, and things really have to line up well for you to push through defensive tools that often. So just go, and hope you don't run into too many blocky decks.
Have you had much experience running into, after Mastery Pack Guardian, they had a bit of, the grind tech, let's call it that, yeah. Right? Pack Perfect, and then the Clash card, I guess, would basically always screw you, but the Clash card, yeah. Discard from hand. But, Pack Perfect, like, there's an argument to letting them grind you, because you get free stuff on the board. So have you had any experience with that? I'm just curious.
Not with those decks specifically, but with Assassins. I love facing an Assassin. Let that on hit happen, baby, because it says anytime a card enters your ban is shown from the top of your deck, put it in the arena. So you're gonna send me a Leave No Witnesses, you're gonna send me a Surgical Extraction, whatever. Sure, let's let those hits go through, and let's get some free value, because I don't want to block unless I have to, because I've got 3 cards. If I suddenly go down to 2 cards, that's a really hard hand to play. But if you're giving me an item off the top of my deck, that helps. That helps mitigate that a little bit. So with the Guardian cards that do that too, yeah, absolutely. And unless I'm going to die, let it hit.
Yeah, and actually, I'm thinking out loud. I just want to do this because the internet will yell at us, right? Pack Perfect actually does the thing when you block. So actually, that's not necessarily perfect in the context of where I was driving.
That's fair.
But yes, that's what I was driving at, was the stuff from top of deck. Although Surgical would snipe a card from hand still, right? So
it would, but if I'm less inclined to let that one hit. But if it also gets me an item back, like I could lose a card, but then if I get a Cerebellum off that or a backup protocol, then I'm back at even, and I've got a free item on the board that I didn't have to crank also. So yeah, I generally want to prevent cards from leaving my hand, but if there's a benefit to it, I'll consider it.
Okay. So I guess kind of lasting advice for folks out there who are, again, I actually agree with your analysis. I think from a hero like this standpoint, I don't think anybody's going to pick her up for the first time this skirmish season, right? Yeah. But so then for folks out here who have been playing her and want to move more to your style, something like that, what's the advice you would give them?
Know what to do when you draw all items, because it's going to happen over a skirmish. It's going to happen a couple times at least, if not more. Know what to do when you're low on attacks and know what's in your deck, right? I think there was a match last skirmish where I knew I was out of attacks in deck, but I drew something that I just, I'm going to arsenal this attack and save it for when I need it, because sometimes you just need to have that. So know your tools and know when to use them. Don't pop those boots until you absolutely know I need an out, or I drew all items, or I need an action point, something like that. Pay attention to where your Cerebellums and your backup protocols are, because those are your ways to extend your hand. If you've also, don't always rely on Foundry Heart for resources, especially late game. Like first few turns, absolutely Foundry Heart every turn. But once you get past that, you're actually potentially doing more damage to yourself, unless you know that I've boosted away 10 attacks. I'm now I'm really struggling. I have to push and hope that things line up the best. So you can pitch into Foundry Yard and get a couple more items. Knowing you've got 20 attacks and 20 items. So knowing what's left in your deck, your probability of hitting each thing. Those are the kind of things you want to pay attention to and remember as best you can. And then if you can get some recursion going with like Fuel Injector, Underloop, Stasis Cell, things like that, you can save some things as well. But it's tricky, man. It's not a deck I would blindly pick up and bring. Like before I brought this to a real tournament, I think I put 100 games on it on Talishar just to make sure like I knew the patterns and knew how it feels and all that. So feel free to follow up with me if you're watching this video on Discord. You can find me at Overkill. Happy to talk about it. I'm pretty active in the purple chat for Dad at All as well. But yeah, it's fun. It goes, but just know when it might not go and avoid killing yourself by unnecessarily banishing from the top of your deck if you don't need to. Early on, do it as much as possible, which sounds contradictory, but that's my general advice for it.
Okay. Fair enough. And then I got to address the elephant in the room. Silver Age starts 2026. Well, technically 2025, but Silver Age. Any chance for Data Doll in Silver Age?
I've tried it. I've tried to make it work. You lose so many tools. You don't have access to any of your equipment. The thing that like Tekla Foundry Heart really does work in this deck because it can give you 2 items every turn and an extra resource. So you don't have access to that. You don't have access to your boots, your hat. You don't have access to Cerebellum, microprocessor, Tekla Pounder. You still have boom grenades, you still have penetration script, you have almost all of your attacks. The only attack you can't run is Fast and Furious, I believe. So the attacks are actually fine, but the item quality just isn't there, and the equipment suite really hurts. So you do get pistol back, so you can like do a crank, ping, 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 but it's not going to win anything at that. It doesn't go push enough damage through to beat an aggro deck, and it's just not good. I wouldn't run it in Sage, honestly.
Yeah, seems like if you want to do that dash or database dash is probably more the route, and then obviously you have OG dash, who's very good. So
yeah, totally.
Okay, well, fair enough. Well, thanks so much for getting up early. I know we both have about 20 minutes before alarms go off. So yeah, and then we start our day. But so thank you very much for joining us. Any parting words or anything any shout outs you want to give? How can folks find you in the IRLs over on the east side of Portland?
Yeah, definitely. In the IRLs, you'll usually see me at the east side shops, the Go-In Gamings and Retro Shark Gamings of the world. It's usually when I'm there on Tuesdays and Saturdays. Otherwise, I'm on Discord, Overkill. Happy to chat there anytime. I'm pretty active in the Purple Discord and the Data Doll channel. I know another person in that channel has taken this deck exactly and won a skirmish last season with it. So this particular deck has won at least 3 skirmishes that I'm aware of. But yeah, how do you find me? Just reach out on DM and I'm happy to chat to you.
Awesome. Well, sweet. Well, buddy, I know we say this all the time IRL, but you got to say it with me this time.
All right.
Go Commando.
Go Commando.